Feather first champion, wait any world of pecking at buttons, non-bird binary feather. Fast best of the rest from the nest atop the chamber door, quoth Raven. Thank you for having it, Raven. Thanks for stopping in so quick too. Especially because I have not been around. You got that notification ready on point or something. There's better words for this right now, but I'm on my warm-up. Warm-up at the moment. Oh, I gotta stretch my face. It's probably a bad day to try to talk about this stuff, but it's been a little bit anyway, so I wanted to try to take a little bit to try to talk about, like how I got my start shortly rid of my eyeballs. So, alright, so I'm trying out the green screen again, so. Alright. This probably going to be more of a draft, but MultiVersus is coming near the end of its thing here, and sometimes talk about this stuff on stream makes it a little bit easier for me to talk about it. Then a little bit easier to explain myself, it feels like, because it's more of an audience. It feels like I can more engage with it. Trying to do stuff on a script too, I'm not great with, so this is practice at the very least. But I want to do this sooner rather than later. I spent the last week or so taking care of the kittens. Well, Gimme in particular, but she was recovering from a little surgery. Nothing major, just we got her fixed, but didn't want her doing something any silly, so I was mostly just keeping an eye on her and keeping her company as much as I could. So we had her in the bedroom and making sure she'd try not to run around too much, but she's right here right now too. She's just relaxing. She's doing all right. So I've been a little distracted with that, and really wanted to get to this at some point before MultiVersus was finally closed down. So I got some notes here I'll be going over as well. Yeah, I got some scenes here ready for different reasons. So I guess, yeah, let's get to my first scene. I think it's this scene that I want to use, right? Yeah, this is a good scene. This is the scene we want. We want this scene. This scene's not even ready. This is a different scene. This scene is what we might want. I don't know what we want, guys. I'm not good at this. Maybe we stick here for the moment. Yeah. Turn off this. Yeah. And again, if I do end up using this, I'm going to try to do this in a way that it's not necessarily a draft, not necessarily practice, but it's probably going to be practice. So, but, I need my notes up. Where am I going to put my notes? I just realized I need to have my notes in a better spot. Oh, let's test our audio too. Oh, I just realized where the audio's coming out from too. It's probably fine, but yeah. Good reason. Down here. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Seems pretty good. Doesn't sound like you guys are getting too much. I think it could be a little bit quieter though. Hold on. Oh boy, oh hi Pixel! Yeah, I figured I've been away from this for a bit. I wanted to get back to MultiVersus. Is this volume to be quieter? I think it'd be a little quieter. A little busy. What does it sound like? What is that honking? Testing 1 2 3. Oh, something I could also turn off because I realized. Okay, let's turn that off just to make sure that. I think it's good now. I think it's good. How you doing, Pixel? I also need to play with Pixel a little bit more if possible. On because Pixel wanted to get their last achievement for this, which we have less than a week for that now. What? I have to sign in, man. I just want here. I gotta pull up my notes on this because I have to. I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So yeah. So this could be awkward and stuff, but whatever. All right. So we got the green screen. We got MultiVersus. Let me change it to my bread and butter here too. Main character. Alright, I'm just gonna switch to. Don't know how long this will take as a whole. Hopefully not too long, because that'll be more to worry about with the draft and the edit. Yeah. Alright, yeah. Let's go, buddy. Yeah. Alright. So that's. Oh, let me do. While I'm here, let me do this. Oh, I need to charge this soon. That's not the one I want. Yeah. I just had to show that off. I decided to get that emote. Alright. So, now, when we talk about MultiVersus, you know, platform fighters in general, as far as who I am, hi, I'm Jassy. I played Smash 64 way back when. Probably spent too much time on it, spent too much time recording little stats for it as well. Favorite character was Jigglypuff. I played it so much to the point that I accidentally found out Jigglypuff's rest did damage, which wasn't something that was seemingly known as much back then. I tried to search the internet for it too. Most people didn't know that Jigglypuff's rest did damage. It was just like, oh yeah, he just puts himself to sleep and he's vulnerable. I remember how the first two times I accidentally found it out. Once was during like the multi-Yoshi fight, and I was trying to go for a pound. Apparently I hit down B and it was like a pew sound, and Yoshi was just deleted off screen. And I was like, whoa, what happened with that pound there? Was he up to like high damage? That was ridiculous. Invincible frame one. That's another interesting thing about it, which is a good way you can use it to blow up barrels in melee. That's something I remember doing. Like, if there are explosives, you're invulnerable during it, and you got an explosion around you. I see that and I go swimming towards it. And then the second time I managed to get it off was during the multi-man, like the polygon fight, and I hit Dowd's special. I won them in the middle of the fight, and I realized I was sleeping, and I was like, oh, that's my rest that does that. I tried searching it up online. Nobody knew about it back then. So it was back when I had dial-up too, so it was just searching as much as I could, but most people were like, yep, doesn't do damage. But apparently it did, and I don't know when that was first evident, but it wasn't it wasn't to everybody who owned the game, that's for sure. I've also played up to Brawl. I didn't play past Brawl because people told me with Smash 4 the online sucked, and I kind of regret not playing 4 because it seemed like it had a good single player mode, some good single player modes. The Miis were interesting, but I also regret kind of getting Ultimate for $120 and all that. So it's a mixed bag. I've also played Brawlhalla, had fun with that when I first played it. I think part of it now is I've played it so much back when it originally came out in 2015. Yeah, that was 2015. Well, maybe not when it originally came out, but that's when I originally first played it. Played it a bit until up to 2016 about. It kind of came back to it here and there, but just it's a fun game in its simplicity. By that, like, a lot of characters share moves, and that a lot of the game, there's not a lot of projectiles, not a lot of cooldowns, not a lot of super crazy utility in the game, but where it excels is kind of being a good balanced brawler game, you know, Brawlhalla. And the simplicity allows you to have a lot of variance and very, like, not niche, very small ways. So it has its place, and it was fun, so I can't really say anything really bad about Brawlhalla. It does what it does really well. It's also free to play. You do have to pay to unlock all the characters, so not sure how that works for most people. Similar with MultiVersus. And yet I did play Smash Ultimate. That was after playing Brawlhalla. Was not a fan of the online. Was not a fan of some of the balancing with the DLC as well. Was not a fan of having to pay so much and still having to unlock the characters, because the single player mode was not that great. Yeah, just a lot of things not a fan of with Ultimate. There's a lot of different ways they could have made it better, but I also can't really blame the dev team on that. I mean, the music was jamming, so I can't blame the dev team with not having the very best game in every way, because they had to introduce so many of the characters back, along with bringing a bunch of DLC. Well, they didn't have to, but that was they probably had to. They had to bring in a lot of characters for the Ultimate. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different things there. I think the best way to, the number one character I would say that I find is the biggest example of why I don't like Smash Ultimate that much would probably be Roy. And a lot of people like Roy because Roy is hype. Roy just runs straight at you and he's just swinging his sword the whole time, and he's so hype. The main reason I don't like Roy is, well, first, that goes back to Melee. Melee was a fun game. It, you know, lots of fun for its time, but lots of echo characters who weren't really that unique, which is fine. It wasn't really a huge deal, but it wasn't my favorite thing. Like Ganondorf had more pizzazz when it came to Brawl. Young Link was kind of boring. Toon Link at least had a different move styles and stuff like that when he came to Brawl, so that was like nice. Then they had Ike instead of Roy. Bloating the roster, yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. It's just making the roster bigger for the sake of being bigger, more than actually adding characters. But part of the reason why I didn't like Roy so much was just because I didn't like Marth that much. Marth was a very boring character to me, and he's like one of the best characters in the game. But he's kind of boring because he just kind of has the same move on every axis. He just swings his sword. His dancing blade is like a multiple sword swipes, which isn't really that interesting to me. Then he has the shield breaker, which is like his forward smash. If they change it up a little bit now, but Marth grab range was also broken. It was the most unique thing about Marth was his grab. It was way better than Yoshi's, that's for sure. But I just wasn't a big fan of Marth. He was just kind of boring to me. And then comes out Smash 4, and they bring Lucina, who is a Marth clone, and it's like, okay, I guess, but... And then they bring back Roy, and they change him a little bit, but not much. He has all the same specials. He's just Fiery Marth. So it's just so much bloat right there between those characters. And to me, that's the point where it's like, okay, you're just adding characters for the sake of adding characters instead of adding characters for the sake of adding... You're adding characters for the sake of adding icons instead of adding characters for the sake of adding gameplay. Because they wanted to get the name in there. You have a Chrom in there now. You have a Roy. You have a Lucina. You have the crossover, but you don't have the gameplay to go with it. And that's kind of where it loses me a little bit. That being said, there's a lot of really cool characters like Pac-Man. And a lot of cool characters. Like, I know Pac-Man's hated for different reasons. I like his moveset. And Isabel, I like her moveset. It's very unique. It's all over the place. It's very different from Villager. I like that. Or not very different. It's different enough. It's got a lot of its own new things. He leans forward, but the grab is only extended out for 1 frame. Ah, I see. Super Fire Emblems Ultimate. Exactly. So many. At least Ike was different enough, and I actually did like Ike. He was like a slower version. He had different moves. His back air and his forward air are a bit different. So I like having different moves for different situations, and you get to try different approaches rather than just spamming your safest move. And while we're talking about Roy, like in Smash Ultimate, he's like a high tier. He just rushes you down. He beats you up. And that's, you know, he's kind of boring. And I think one of the characters that kind of gets the worst deal of being an Echo Fighter is Ganondorf. I think everybody agrees with that. He was updated in Brawl. Doesn't he slide with this to the side with the side special? Ganondorf or Roy? Because I know Marth and Roy just do the Ike. Oh yeah, he does the dash forward. Yeah, the dash forward with his, yep. Yeah, that's also a different side special. His up special is different. His neutral special is slightly different. It is an explosion thing, and then he has a counter. You know. So, but yeah, he was different enough where it made him more interesting. Yeah. But yeah, going back to Ganondorf, they updated him in Brawlhalla, which was like, not Brawlhalla, in Smash Bros. Brawl, where it made him interesting enough to me, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no. When Brawl came out, it was interesting to see characters like Mario get the Flood, make him even more unique from Luigi, make him even more unique from Dr. Mario, if Dr. Mario would be added back in. Then you have Toon Link, who is different from normal Link in some ways. He could have used a lot different specials, but apparently they wanted to probably get Toon Zelda in there instead, but they couldn't do that because they ran out of time, which is the theme of most of Smash Bros. Games. Was too much crunch to get the games completed, and that's probably why you see Echo Fighters, which is unfortunate that the games will never really be truly completed, and that's just true for a lot of video games too. So that's not something that I can put on, you know, the dev team. And when Ganondorf came out, he had his side special, which was more reminiscent of like Wind Waker Ganondorf, or Ganon or whatever. He had his up special to made a little bit more like he's rising up with the electricity and stuff, and I like that. He wasn't really, oh, and his side, even his side attack, just his normal like side tilt attack like that with the kick, that was more reminiscent of Ganondorf. And I like the small changes like that to bring into the characters to make them more of their identity that they couldn't do back in Melee. Unfortunately, by the time 4 comes along, that's Smash Bros. 4, it seems like they just weren't able to do that, probably because they had more pressure to bring in characters like Cloud, Ryu, Bayonetta, Little Mac, like wanting to bring in characters who are going to be more relevant in upcoming games, which is again why I don't want to stay too long on this. I shouldn't stay too long on this because I want to talk about MultiVersus mostly. So, but yeah, that was the kind of the gripes I had with Ultimate. And it was mainly Roy and Ganondorf. And you look at Ganondorf now, and one of the biggest reasons why I feel like he got the dirtiest of a job done to him is compare him to Kazuya Mishima. You know, DLC Kazuya Mishima. In so many ways, they have similar moves, but in so many ways, Kazuya Mishima is just better. Kazuya Mishima, first of all, has more moves with intangibility than most characters have moves. I've made that joke a lot, but it's also true. Kazuya Mishima has a command grab like Ganondorf, but his will actually KO people. It comes with rage and a comeback mechanic as well. Kazuya Mishima has like his sidekick too, but it has intangibility. It just feels like Kazuya Mishima has a lot of what Ganondorf has, but has actually had attention brought to him in a way that a lot of people earlier into the series just didn't get. And that's a big reason I didn't like Smash Ultimate. The balance of that game is so bizarre. And you can see just certain characters just haven't had as much attention in years, and there's not much there's not much to do about that besides spend way too much time on it. But it's still a reason I don't like it. It's more like an anniversary special. And anyways, so that's a big reason why you know, I just didn't play Ultimate anymore when MultiVersus came out. I've also played things like Nick All-Stars. I played things like Brawl. I played things like Fraymakers. They were all right in their own ways. Nick All-Stars didn't really, a lot of the characters didn't feel that interesting. It was also very mashy, which I think was probably due to the partially was just the style they were going for, but also I don't think they had very much hit stun or hit lag on moves, and so everything was just kind of like throwing out attacks, and it was a bit ridiculous. It was probably fun if you just don't mind mashing your whole way into a game, but for me, as somebody who likes platform fighters for the space creation they can provide, yeah. Brawler was one that it was trying to emulate like a melee, like a brawl style. I didn't play it too much. I kind of recommend it if you just want to try something different. It had Dead Cell's character in it. It's something I probably have to go back to, much like Brawlhalla, much like Ultimate even. I need to go back to these games again at some point soon and just kind of give them another rundown. Maybe Ultimate less so. If I do Ultimate, I might do Q Draw Remix and stuff like that, which revamps the games, balances it, and in ways to make it supposed to be like melee, but also just ways that make it more interesting. I get some water in me. Rainmakers, I didn't get to try it much. It was also a very combo-oriented game. One of the main reasons I didn't try it very much was Rainmakers required me to figure out how to get my controller set up for it, because I couldn't figure out how to get it to dash or walk in certain directions. Like there was something wonky with the controls. Maybe they've changed that now. Hey, get out of here. Hold on, I got something in there. I need to close out of some things here. I have some pop-ups that are getting in the way. So yeah, one of the main issues with Rainmakers was just my controller didn't work great with it, and I didn't want to spend time it's early access, and it's not something that I could be like, oh yeah, they totally should have had that working. Oh, I can't believe this. I want a refund, so on and so forth, which maybe a refund would have been a bad idea. But it's another game that I need to get back to and give it a fair try to. Again, I wasn't as worried about because it is more combo oriented, less space control oriented, less positioning, which is something that has been the trend with a lot of platform fighters. It's less about positioning and space creation and more about combos and more about rushdown, more about being the first to land a blow. And to me, that's not one of the main reasons I played. It was one of the main reasons I like platform fighters over traditional fighters. It was something different. It wasn't just about combos and rushdown. Whereas a lot of traditional fighters you try to get your hit in so you can get off a combo, which isn't always true. A lot of times you can play spacies, you can play defensive, you can pick your spots, and combos are helpful. You're not always getting off your combos, but if you can, that's beneficial, stuff like that. And I know there's also a lot too. I want to play traditional fighters too, to kind of compare more with regular or with platform fighters, just because I want to make sure I'm also approaching that appropriately. I just haven't played traditional fighters as much because I kind of get frustrated when the main point it feels like I should get to is mashing, because I don't want my when in doubt mash to be my main thing I go to every time. I want to be able to take a different approach with that. And so I've been playing MultiVersus for quite a while. I have over 1,000 hours in it now. So I enjoy it. I'm sure a lot of other people enjoy it. There's a lot of people who don't enjoy it for many different reasons. And as far as the main reasons why people don't enjoy it, that's a tough one. There's a lot of different reasons people could say why MultiVersus isn't perfect. There's quite a few things I could say about that, but I think one of the main areas where it struggled, and there was this podcast from Level 857. They talked with the creator of MVS Infinite, or the lead of MVS Infinite, Hakio, and they were talking with him about it. And at the beginning of the podcast, which here, I'm going to copy this link for anybody who wants to, and this will be in the description of the YouTube. Why don't you let me paste? There we go. So, that link is just if everyone wants to watch the podcast themselves as well. I watched through all of it. Can't say I remembered everything, but I did watch through all of it. One thing they mentioned during it was at the beginning of it, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but the most difficult part was just getting into the free-to-play market, and I think that's the biggest issue. There's different things with how characters are locked behind kind of a paywall, but mostly grinding, because the grinding does take a lot. I feel like they should have had a small paywall up just to unlock all the characters from the get-go. Plus, they didn't have good training modes to utilize back then, because you couldn't really play the characters locally or in training at all unless you unlock them. So you couldn't really tell, do I want this character so much? And I think that was a rough way to go about it, because it made it harder to know if you even wanted to unlock a character, let alone made it difficult to know which character to unlock, let alone how they even played and stuff like that. So I think I phrased that funny, but hopefully you get the idea. But yeah, the free-to-play market is probably a tough one to get into right now. MultiVersus also came out during the pandemic, was being developed during the pandemic, and I feel like that's got to have played a small part in there too. Again, also the free-to-play market, where there are already a bunch of organizations established, and MultiVersus was doing something very different. And as much as people want to say it was just a Smash Ultimate clone, it wasn't actually a Smash Ultimate clone. It was more of a Brawlhalla Smash Ultimate hybrid, I would say. Closer to Brawlhalla. It had more of the similarities of... Oh, my controller went offline. Just imagine Gizmo's playing this music, by the way. With a focus on 2v2. Yep, exactly. It was more on 2v2 and less about the 1v1, which I'll get to a little bit more too, but yeah, it wasn't supposed to be... It had like the bones of a Brawlhalla with how you would have your dodges and your jumps kind of universal among all the characters. There were no shields. You have wall grabs instead of ledge hangs. So it was more like Brawlhalla on its bones, but then it had utility of like a Smash Ultimate, but with cooldowns to offset how much you could use those things. So it wasn't just, we'll add it as a comeback mechanic, or we'll add it as just something you can use all the time, or you charge it, or this and that. And I think that those are a lot of things that I appreciated from MultiVersus and how they handle the utility of the game, as opposed to a Smash Ultimate. Whereas I feel like Smash Ultimate could have taken some notes from using cooldowns more and things of that nature. But like Pixel was saying, it was more with the focus towards 2v2, and back during the beta, that was one of the main things I liked about it. It was more about space creation and positioning and stuff like that. Well, it wasn't necessarily more about it, but that was the direction I figured they were trying to go for. It wasn't just about combos and rushdown. It's like how Overwatch, like Overwatch 2 in particular, I haven't played Overwatch 1, but Overwatch 2 is more about positioning. It's more about your timings with your cooldowns and stuff like that. Less about sheer aim. Where something like CSGO, maybe that's more about aiming and less about space creation, less about timings, less about this and that. Like CSGO, maybe you just rush in and you try to, and you're just trying to pick off your opponents as fast as you can. It's about reaction time. Whereas whereas Overwatch is different. I think that's how people should have looked at MultiVersus. MultiVersus wasn't necessarily supposed to be a rushdown, a combo-oriented game. It's supposed to be 2v2. It's about positioning and the like. And I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for, which is why when the beta transitioned over into slowing down the pace, I could see that's what they were trying to go for, like making the characters bigger so you have the ability to read what they're doing more. It made sense that that's what they were going for. And that's what I liked about MultiVersus, was being that something different, not being just being a Brawlhalla, not just being a Smash Ultimate, not just being a Rivals of Aether and stuff like that. So let's see what else I got on my notes here that I can try to mention. one thing I did, this is more just off the cuff, but one thing that it did remind me of was like the free-for-alls when I would play with my, especially the 2v2, it reminded me of the free-for-alls where you're working on trying to figure out where do I position my character that is the best for me, worst for them, who do I pick out, where do I go here, what's the safest, where do I have the advantage, and I was always the best at those matchups. Yeah, it's pretty good at free-for-alls. I wasn't even a big fan of using items. As much as I'm a casual at heart, I wasn't a big fan of using items, so I'm probably a little bit I feel like maybe this is something we need to talk about right now. I feel like the difference of whether this game appeals to casual or competitive, I don't think it matters that much. I feel like we're all casual or competitive in our own different ways. And I have heard people talk about, you know, whether this game appeals more to casual or competitive, whether certain things appeal more to casual or competitive. And I think your definition of what is casual in this game, what is competitive, is going to be different just kind of based on who you ask. You ask somebody, hey, do you think Gizmo's bow and arrow is more casual or competitive? You know, there might be quite a few different responses to that. Like, to me, it's a hard thing to aim. It's got that lob and drop off and stuff, and getting a ring out with that feels so good, but man, it's probably got to feel horrible for someone getting sniped by that bad boy. You look at someone like Shaggy and they're like, man, that guy's totally a casual, just for casuals and stuff. And yeah, I really couldn't tell you. I mean, I do feel like Shaggy would be casual. I don't know if that's true. He doesn't really have good anti-projectile, so is he casual? He seems like he just gets blown up by projectiles. I don't know if that's a casual thing. Is it just you're only competitive if you have projectiles? But people also hate projectiles. That sounds more like a casual thing to say, though, if you just hate projectiles. See where I'm going with this? There's a whole bunch of different ways that could go. All right. So what else we got on my notes here? Oh, my poor voice. Also, song requests are open if anyone wants to add something silly or fun. Okay, other things I liked about MultiVersus, I like some of the single player stuff. I kind of missed the hard mode arcade, which I got 23. I got 23 wins with my hard mode arcade, one with each of the original characters. I didn't get it with the 2v2s though. Dragon also got one hard mode arcade win, but that was because I was grinding out candy corn for her. So her Velma was sick as frick, is what I mean. But I did kind of miss the hard mode arcade. I thought that was a fun thing to still do a little bit of. It would have been nice to see that brought back a little bit, but that's just me. I do like the riffs to an extent. They're not like the best thing ever. I did like the little bits of story they added in with the riffs. I did like some of the lock-ins they had with certain riffs where you had to play certain characters to the extent that they did it. Like I liked it when you had special skins you could do. Like then you, okay, you know, this is an event thing. I kind of get it. You want to have a Sharkly hat, or you want to have a Valentine Nia outfit, or this or that. And I could see incentivizing people to do that. If for no other reason, I like it. It just encourages me to play different characters, to try different things. And that's one of the main things I liked about MultiVersus, is just trying different things with all these different characters. And ooh, that's another thing I could mention too. Is here, I'm gonna stay on riffs though. I'm getting distracted. Just remind me, guys, perks. But yeah, the riffs and some of them with like Samurai Jack, when he was a new character, they kind of forced you to play as only him, and I didn't like that as much. Especially when you go back to play those riffs later on, it gets tedious. It would have been nice to play as different characters more for some of the riffs. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I would have liked a little more variety for some of those ones. Anything else I can mention about riffs? I did enjoy doing a lot of the Looney stuff too with the season 1. I kind of missed that, where you get to unlock Agent Smith early and then also get his exclusive skin, which I did. I grinded that out last day it was available. The last Looney rift I needed to do. I didn't realize it was the last day, so that was interesting. But I managed to grind that out, and I enjoyed doing it. Enjoy is a strong word, you know. There's things about it that were, you know, a bit rough, but some of those loony risks just don't make sense. And also, like, there were some parts where I was glitching out, like with the, it was like an Agent Smith on the triple threat, where you have to like beat him up, and then he sends in Matrix variants to beat you up, and it kept glitching out at times where I would be hitting him and then he disappears, and then I just run out of time. So when it glitched out where he just died and then I won, it's like, you know what, I'm taking it, I earned it. So there's some issues there too with the rifts of with things like that, things like that were broken in this game. And we're probably never going to get fixed because they were also had the priority of trying to balance the game too, and trying so many different things, trying to implement new things, and like shields. But going back to perks, I want to talk about perks. Perks in the beta I thought were really fun. Could have used maybe a little more tweaking, but I did like the perks in the beta. I was sad when they downscaled them for the full release. And then they tried to tweak them a little bit, and they stole my perk currency. I'm very upset about that, Tony. I want my perk currency back. That's very important to me. But I feel like with the perks, they should have really tried to make them bigger. Instead of trying to dial them back more, just made them bigger. Made them more impactful. I think that would have been fun for me as a player. I'm probably a filthy casual, but I wanted perks to do more, to be crazier. Some of them are already kind of crazy. That's also why they got rid of Weekend, because it was too crazy. Which, yeah, I guess. I don't know how I feel about that, but I did like perks. I feel like I wanted more perks rather than less perks, which maybe MVS Infinite, I'm hoping MVS Infinite brings back more perks. Hey, Hakio, now instead of Tony being my best friend, it's going to be Hakio. Hakio, you're my best friend now? Okay. Yeah, that's the lore I'm going with. Bring back perks. There we go. Now he'll listen. I'm sure he'll get right on it. What else? What were other things I still liked about MultiVersus? I got notes here. I can read these. Oh, the hitbox. Friendship with Tony has ended now. Yep, exactly. Whoever's working on MultiVersus, my best friend. Whoever the lead is of whatever MultiVersus right now, best friend. If MultiVersus dies, then I have no friends. Which is totally true from right now. Or totally different from right now. Totally, yep. Totally true. I can't talk, guys. Anyways, something else I liked about MultiVersus, well, when it first came out, the hitboxes were a little weird, but it felt pretty good for what it was. They had to do hurtbox reworks, and when they did that, it felt like you could really tell, oh yeah, no, this flows a lot better than it used to. Because before, it was just like these pillars that they had for their hurtbox, and then they like fit out all of the limbs and stuff to be the hurtbox. It's like, oh, okay, so yeah, no, this feels a lot better now. It's probably something people didn't notice as much back in the beta, but well, no, it's probably something people did notice in the beta, but when they did the rework, nobody talked about it, and I thought that was weird. Like, I know that because people were talking about balances and stuff like that, and it felt like whenever they were doing the balances back during the beta, the dev team was doing what they wanted for the revamps. And at least, okay, the dev team was doing what the community kept asking for during the revamps. Wait, no. I can't. I'm gonna get some coffee. Hold up. Pixel, you know what I'm saying? Pixel. I know what I'm saying, Pixel. Okay. The community kept wanting like a lot of different changes for the game. And it seemed to me like the dev team was trying to deliver these things, trying to deliver the most requested things. And if anything, that might have been to their downfall. I know a lot of people said like, oh, they're not listening to the community. And back then I was reading a bit more of what, like, say the Discord or Twitter were saying. And to me, it seemed like the dev team was listening. They were trying to add in the things that were most requested. And whenever they made changes, people were saying like, oh, we didn't ask for this. Like, no, maybe you didn't specifically, but lots of people were asking for this. It might have been just a vocal minority, but as far as I could tell, it was a loud point of contention in a lot of different areas. People were constantly asking for projectile nerfs, which I never felt like Velma was that difficult, even back in the beta. Like, I felt she was good, but I felt like it was a little overstated, and I don't know if that is just the casual in me. And you know, this could just get me roasted, but I never felt like the projectiles were as bad as some people made them out to be. I could kind of see how in some ways they were, though. Like, Gizmo's arrow was a bit too potent. I could see why they nerfed that in the full release, but point is, they did things. The dev team seemed like they were doing things that were like were good for the game as a whole. Like, they did the Hurtbox reworks, and I thought, oh, that's good. Most people didn't talk about that. They did the 2D hitbox overhaul, which apparently they were originally doing 3D, but then they probably didn't see any reason to do that. So they did a 2D hitbox overhaul. To me, I thought, oh yeah, that made sense, because yeah, it felt like it actually made, I could feel the changes with that. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the crazy one, and I just noticed things that don't exist. But with the 2D hitbox overhaul, the Hurtbox overhaul, I felt like I noticed those changes. Like with Batman's up special, that thing was way too big. And when they did the 2D hitbox overhaul, it felt like, oh, now it's not nearly as big in the air. And when I'm just fishing for that thing in the entire match, I don't get rewarded for it. Okay. Although it's pretty big now in the it's pretty big again in the fall release, so they must have had to fix that after the 2D hitbox overhaul, because I swear that thing was smaller in the beta at one point, near the end of the beta. And they also did things like in the full release, like they did jab reworks, which I hated Jack when he first came out, because he got his focus too fast. His side special focus was just, it came out so fast, and he just spin pinballs around, just controlling space. He was already good at controlling space because his sword was so big, and his jab was just so good too. So in particular, that was the jab reworks made sense, where they lowered down the priority of jabs along with other moves. Yeah, the jab reworks I think was good for the game as well. They also did things like adding shields. I don't know how I feel about shields as a whole. I don't think they're the worst thing to come to this game, but I think most people wanting shields in this game, maybe we're just looking for more Smash Ultimate, and because I don't think they were ever going to revolutionize the game in a way that people were expecting them to. Like they're good for certain things, like anti-projectile stuff and certain people who are spamming moves. So I don't necessarily hate the idea they implemented them. I just don't think they were the end-all be-all, and they were never going to be, and most people probably didn't expect them to be either. They just wanted something as a bit better defensive measure rather than just dodging and parrying. So I kind of get that too. Ooh, you know what? No. I'm getting sidetracked. I was actually gonna try to look at some stuff with that, but what was I gonna say now? Forget. Like about shields. You guys know what I'm saying, right? I know I stopped talking, but pretend you know exactly what I'm saying. I was gonna say something else about shields, but oh, something I do actually like about shields is the shield break maneuver, because it's, for certain characters, it's another move you can throw out. I don't know if it's really the best way to go about it, but like even with Jack, like here, let me pull out Gimmo here. Let me show. So am I on the, wait, let me, I can't help. What the heck? There we go. Okay, so this is Gizmo's shield break maneuver. Not necessarily the best thing in the world. That sounded very loud. It's based on the end of his jab. But for Gizmo, this could be a good thing because this jab is, well, it's decent size. But I could do... In comparison, this feels kind of slow, kind of sluggish. Plus, it doesn't have good priority. This, on the other hand, drop kick a foo at the ledge. So that's something I like. For Jax, it's a little better because his ends with like a big wide swing, or his shield break maneuver with a big wide swing. So it kind of gives like just an ability for a different attack for somebody to throw out rather than just being only for shields. And you can also, if you expect someone to shield, you're still throwing an attack. So there's that. Oh man, he's getting beat up. Anyways, let me get back to my... So yeah, it's probably, I'm probably making a bigger thing out of shield break maneuvers than I need to be. But anyways, that's how I feel about shield as a whole. They're like, they're okay. I don't know if I feel better that they're in the game. I don't know if I feel worse that they're in the game. I just feel mediocre about them at this point. Now, there's things I don't like about MultiVersus. One is it's kind of going towards more like a rushdown style in recent patches, and I think that's just the difficulty of getting a 2v2 thing for it. But I think one of the main things I don't like about MultiVersus would be some of the bugs and crashes. You know, sometimes it crashes on you, and I don't even know if that's my hardware, my setup. You know, that could just be a whole PC gaming kind of thing, but it doesn't feel good when the game crashes on you. And that's happened quite a bit. It's happened to my girlfriend, and sometimes it just feels bad. Yeah, I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to harp on it too much, though. I'm not going to say it's because the dev team's incompetent. I'm just going to say that's the price you pay for PC gaming, I think. And again, also the rushdown style, too, that I was trying to get to. Which a lot of people I think wanted, and more I think that's the point of contention, is that what they've been adding has been maybe for a vocal, maybe that is the problem, is why MultiVersus has been struggling, is they've been trying to listen to the vocal minority or just a vocal side of it, when maybe that wasn't the best way to do things. I can't be sure that's a... Oh, there goes my girlfriend's... And I have no idea if that's true, though. I will say I have no idea if this vocal minority thing is what was actually going on. But there's a lot of people who would say, like, hey, we nobody's asking for this, when people were asking for it. And there's a lot of people who wanted what was in the beta, which was maybe focused more on the 2v2 style, but also was faster and squirrelier too, so maybe that is the rushdown style. It's really hard to say what it is people actually wanted from the game. From my perspective, and I don't think there's a one solution that fits for that, but for me personally, the rushdown style I don't like as much, but I also don't feel like it's tarnished the 2v2 that badly. Trying to figure out how to phrase this. I think something that I liked about... Let's actually just talk about some changes from the beta in general. Like, they had attack decay, right? I liked attack decay. It stopped people from spamming the same move over and over again. It punished them a bit more for spamming the same move over and over again, where once they would hit attack decay, you could effectively counter right back because they're spamming the same move. And to me, I like that. I don't know how other people feel about attack decay, but I've also heard that people like GSM Void. I remember him in particular. He said he hated attack move lockout. He said it was one of the worst. He said it was like probably one of the worst features of a game. And to me, I did not think it was one of the worst features of the game. I thought it was a way to stop people spamming the same move a little bit. I don't know if I necessarily thought it was the best thing in a game, but it definitely wasn't the worst thing I've ever felt. So it's one of those things where, is that a rushdown style that they want more of the game, or a spammier style of the game, or what is it that they want, you know? And that's something that, listening to big content creators, listening to people on Discord, listening to people on Twitter, x.com, whatever, which actually, I'll get to that in a moment. I know bots always trigger the attack decay. Yeah, but just make better bots, Tony. All right. But yeah, I would like to have for MVS Infinite, which I'm going to share. Anybody else who wants to do MVS Infinite, I'm going to share this now too in the description of the YouTube. If I put this on YouTube, I have to heavily edit this bad boy. Anybody who wants to keep up with MVS Infinite, I'm sharing the blue sky because screw Elon. But yeah, that'd be something I'd like to have brought back, would be attack decay. I think that would be one of my requests to bring back. What are other changes from the beta that I could try to mention? Oh, being able to counter swap. I liked counter swapping, and I can see why maybe you wouldn't want to do that for ranked at the very least, because of how they set up the rank system. But I would like counter swapping back, just because, well, especially for ranked, if I'm doing 2v2 solo queuing, locked to do a specific character after a rematch, yeah. And especially if I'm doing 2v2 solo queue ranked, I would say I'm Gizmo and I match up with a Tom and Jerry, and I'm like, okay, well, we're two mages. Neither of us are that great at slugging. Well, Tom's got his, and I got my piano, but it's ideally you'd want someone who's better at slugging, and then you get in there and you're facing a Finn and a freaking what's her name? Finn and Marceline, you know? If they're down air special. So, and it's just like, yeah, we're just getting slugged at. We can't make any space creation. Finn keeps breaking her projectiles with his side special. We're just going to lose this rank match. And not being able to counter swap, which in a lot of competitive games, I think counter swapping is a thing anyways. At the very least, I would like to see it in casual play, because getting locked, well, maybe that'd be more for ranked. But point is, counter swapping was something that I miss from the game. Also being able to pick random, because oftentimes I would just pick random in the beta to decide what my counter swap would be. I love picking random. I was a random main. I miss random. I would just pick random and pick a guy for me, and it's just like, well, looks like random's my main because I just won with that match. Random, take the wheel. What are some other changes from the beta that I might want brought back? I think it's mainly those two. Yeah, I think that's about all I can really say about a lot of these things right now. I can't think of anything else to add, but yeah, MVS Infinite. If I were to have a wish list, you know, bring back attack decay, focus on space creation, and a lot of that. I just cracked my knuckle doing that. Focus on space creation, and yeah, my poor hands. Focus on space creation, focus on positioning. You know, those would be the things I would like to see from a MultiVersus. You know, keep the 2v2 in mind. I think that's something they're already going to be doing, but that's something I would like to see kept in mind with this. I would like to see some single player modes kind of return. I do like those just to be able to play casually with, but it's not going to be a high expectation when we want to make sure we can just get the game working. If at some point I feel like I can actually contribute anything to the game, to the system, I will. But besides maybe some word of mouth stuff, I don't know what I could really offer. Maybe a Gizmo voice, but I think they already got that covered. I don't even know what I would offer. I would like to pretend I could offer some coding, some voice acting, but right now I don't think I can offer too much to them. So go check out MVS Infinite, please, I guess. if at some point I feel like I could help offer something for coding, since I did a little bit on Smash Ultimate, but even then that was like baby mode coding I was doing there, I would say. I didn't really learn a whole lot in depth, so another wish list, bring back perks again, kind of make some crazy stuff with that, make crazy perks. Maybe there must be some specific stuff I'll get to, a specific characters in a little bit, but attack decay, I think that's all I can really think for my wish list at the moment. Counter swaps, random, attack decay, yeah. So I think now is the time that I want to do a tier list. So